Good evening, and welcome to this week's episode of Sounds of the Diaspora, Artist to Artist, a conversation with yours truly, Dion Parson. I'm so happy to have our guest tonight. This is a gentleman that I've known for many, many years, from the early 90s when I first moved to New York City. And I ran into him this past summer, and yeah, we just connected, and yeah, I'm just so excited to have him on the show. He's an amazing trombonist, educator, composer, arranger, and a dear friend. Please join me in welcoming to the show Mr. Steve Davis.
Hey, Dion, how are you?
I'm good, man. Welcome to the show, bro. Good to see you.
Oh, it's great to see you. It's great to see you. It was great to see you last summer with Tom Dempsey.
Yeah,
our dear friend, the great guitarist. Up in Harlem, and what a great gig that was.
Definitely. It was it was I think, I mean, besides being a great gig with Rick Jermison and Santi Dibriano, and then coming off the stage and seeing you in the back, man, it's been too long, bro. Yeah. Man, how long has it been, man? Almost 20 years or something.
Oh, longer than that, my friend. I think we both came to New York around 1989, 90,
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. And I remember meeting at Augie's when Jesse Davis, the great
Monday night jam sessions,
was doing those jam sessions, and we, so many great musicians from our generation kind of congregated there, and I met so many great musicians during that time, including yourself. And then to think back 35 years later, right?
Yeah.
Here we all are, still doing it and having these pretty amazing careers. And so it makes me very proud, to be a part of that lineage.
Likewise, man. And the last time I spoke to you to come on the show, you were getting ready to go on a jazz cruise, a Christian McBride cruise. You was like, hey, man, I'm going to be on the show. I can do the date. I got to run. The call was that quick.
Yeah. My wife, Abena, who was a guest on your show not too long ago, and she's a great vocalist. And so she was able to come with me. And we were running to the airport, and we down to Fort Lauderdale, and we did the Christian McBride's World at Sea cruise. And I've been a member of McBee's big band since he started it in 2009 or 10, I think that was. So that it was wonderful. It was just, as always, to work with him is amazing, but the cruise was really extra special. Yeah, it was great.
Great, man. Great. When I knew you in New York, you were, going back and forth to Connecticut, and then I knew you came up through the Jackie McLean camp. I'm saying that in a positive way because so many great musicians came by, Abraham Burton and Nat Reeves and Eric McPherson and all those cats, and I admire all you guys. And then you kind of like stayed in the Connecticut thing and kind of became part of that. And and then you became an educator. I know you to be doing that a lot. And I know you're at Berkeley now, but let's talk about, before we jump into you, to what you're doing now, let's talk about your musical upbringing, because ever since I know you were just, amazing on doing your thing, man. So how did you get started with that?
Wow. Yeah. Well, thank you for mentioning Jackie McLean and Hartford, and we'll talk about that a little bit for sure. But for me, growing up, I was very lucky that my parents, my dad had a lot of records and was a real aficionado of jazz music and the blues and rock and roll and folk music and things like that. So there was always a lot of music playing in the house. And my mom loved music too, driving around in the car, and she would get excited when some good oldies came on the radio, whatever she called them, the oldies, and she'd sing along. And so that was great. But my grandparents, my mother's mother, my Nana, she was a pianist. I mean, she played stride piano, and she never read music in her whole life. She never learned to read. And she was a jazz musician. I mean, she Betty Clark Munger. And my Nana, Betty, she could play like real stride piano. Honeysuckle Rose, Them There Eyes, You was her favorite song, and all kinds of standards. And she used to sing, we'd go visit her in Connecticut. And I just thought, oh yeah, that's just Nana. She just plays the piano. And I fell in love with you the first time I looked into Them There Eyes, and she'd be doing all that. And it was just like, that's just what Nana does. And then I started to realize, not everybody's grandmother does that, And, she was semi-professional. She had gigs at, restaurants and places like that. And so my mom would get my little brother and me all, dressed up, and we'd go and sit at the table. And there was Nana in the corner. Hey, boys, and she'd be over there playing, really swinging stride piano.
Right.
So that was great. And then, and my grandsir on my dad's side, my grandfather, we called him Grandsir. He was a newspaper journalist, but he loved Duke Ellington, and he loved, he had a trumpet that he played as a hobby. So he would belt out, when the Saints go marching in, and he'd get out the basting brushes, and play on the tablecloth. Those checkered, smooth tablecloths.
Right.
He'd be playing, So it was like, wow, man. I mean, there was this love of jazz music that I really didn't, think too seriously about until I was a teenager, and I started to get interested in Binghamton, New York, where I grew up, where Tom Dempsey grew up also. And musicians like Dina DeRose and Tony Cadlick and Chris Jensen and John Hollenbeck, the drummer, and Pete Van Ostrand was a little younger than us. He came along. Sherry Miracle, who has the Diva Jazz band. And many others who could really play, but they got smart and did something else, as a career. But very brilliant people. And so I was lucky to grow up in the school system that we had in the early mid 80s, late 70s, early 80s, I guess. And then we had Slam Stewart, the great legendary bassist, Slam Stewart, who lived right behind the Little League field that I grew up playing baseball on. And all we knew was this cool slam jazz guy lived a block past Recreation Park, and then he would come and play assemblies at the school. And so it kind of went from there. And then we had some musicians too. Doug Beardsley played at a club called the Music Box, and he would let us sit in. And Al Ham did SUNY Binghamton, and I could go on and on. Mike Holliber. It was very formative for me.
So as a teenager, at some point you made a decision like, hey, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. I was trying to be a good student, not so hot in math, but overall pretty good. I was interested in history and the humanities, but by the time I was ready to apply to colleges and see, what the future could hold in that regard, it kind of really became apparent that the thing I love the most is playing my horn, playing the trombone, and not even the trombone. It was jazz music. It was the feeling of the music. And when I heard the Sidewinder by Lee Morgan, and I asked my dad, "What's that music?" He said, he said, "Son, that's funk before it was funk." The Blue Note record, the Sidewinder, I loved it, and it had nothing to do with any particular instrument. It was just the feeling of it. And then he kind of put me on to Horace Silver, Art Blakey, Hank Mobley, and Lee Morgan, and that was it. I was hooked.
And the rest is history, huh?
Yeah.
So leaving Binghamton, and that's when you went to because you went to Hartt School of Music, right?
Yes. I met Jackie McLean, Professor McLean, at an audition, and that changed my life. Meeting him absolutely changed my life. I mean, I was into the music, and he could identify that in me, but I was raw and young and from upstate New York, and so going to Hartford and being under his wing was absolutely exponentially life-changing and influential. And before I knew it, he introduced me to my hero, Curtis Fuller, who came to do a master class. And that was just mind-boggling to me that you know, I can meet Curtis Fuller, and that I was meeting him, you know, and then it really took off from there. And being in Hartford at that time was incredible. And we had some great faculty. Jackie Byard was still teaching there. I met Nat Reeves, who was a young professor at the time and one of my teachers, and we're dear friends 40 years later. And and Hotep Galetta, the great South African pianist. And it just kind of went. It all happened from there. Oh, and Antoine Roney was a student there. He was finishing, but I mean, he was so far advanced, and just hanging around him was like going to university in and of itself. And so many other great musicians. So that was a wonderful time.
Beautiful. I just have to say, man, I just want to make a comment about Hotep. May he rest in peace. But I got to know Hotep through his, affiliation there and playing with J Mac. And I remember being in South Africa with Stephen Scott and Bruneau, and Hotep kind of hosted us. And man, we had so much fun, man. He was an amazing pianist and amazing human being, man.
Oh yeah, and yes, absolutely, great composer too. So hey, maybe we can put together a concert one day and play a program of his great music.
That would be great. That would be beautiful. So after you left Hartt, I remember seeing you. I mean, legendary. I mean, Art Blakey. I mean, being a messenger is like, because I was one of those guys that every Christmas and New Year's, Sweet Basil, when the messengers were in residency, I was sitting right there.
Man, Dion, you and me both. Man, I had been doing that all through the mid 80s to the late 80s when I was in school in Hartford. And we would come down to New York, and it was 2 hours, 2-hour drive, and didn't matter. And we would, I got to hear many of those versions of the Messengers, and it was just a dream, to possibly play in the band. And my mentor, Jackie McLean, thank you, J Mac, he had recommended me to Art during my senior year in Hartford. And one day he had me come in his office, and he said, "Okay, sit down, son." He said, I'm going to call Buhena. And I'm, this is surreal. I mean, like, still to even think about it. And it's a landline to the young listeners, no emails, no phones, cell phones, or iPhones, So he dials the number, and I hear Art Blakey's voice, "Hello," on the other line. And he said, "What can I do for you, Jackie?" And I'm sitting there. What a gift this is, just to be able to remember this. And J Mac said, "I got a little trombone player up here who can play. He's getting ready to make his move to the city. So if you ever need a little trombone player, his name is Steve Davis." And then I heard, yep. He's white. Yep. And he said, "But he's humble, and I think he's going to stay that way." And
Yeah.
J-Mac
Okay.
looked me right in the eye when he said that. I mean, and on this day, right now, the day that the great Reverend Jesse Jackson just passed away,
Mhm.
this means a great deal, to me, to be able to share this story, because
Yeah.
it matters. It matters. And I think about the title of your program, and this is important. So, yeah, that's how J-Mac recommended me. I never stood in the same room with the two of them.
Mhm.
I moved to New York. I had to do the rest myself. And you were there,
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
scene.
I was
All the
witness.
great young musicians were there. Yeah.
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 But that's great, man. And you've always stood out, and and just and deliver. That's the thing. Like, somebody can make that call for you, but you still have to deliver. You know.
Yeah. Oh man. And learn.
Yeah.
So, I learned a great deal. And my first trips anywhere, to the West Coast, to Europe, to Japan, were as a jazz messenger. I was there 8 months, and the title track of Art's last record date, "One for All," they wound up using my song. "One for All" is the title track, which was about the last tune we recorded. I think it was a 2-day session. It's all still just surreal to me, but I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And yeah.
And share with us some of the other amazing musicians, because besides Art Blakey, you played with so many other amazing musicians. Can you share with our audience some of the other folks that you've had the pleasure of playing with?
Yeah. Well, Jackie McLean, of course. I joined his band after being in the Messengers, and that's when I moved back to Hartford and began teaching as a young 24-year-old adjunct professor, and learning under his wing. So that was exponentially influential in my life for 6 years. And then when I was 30, Chick Corea, called and put together this new sextet called Origin. And so I got to work with him, not only during that period, but he kept calling me over the next couple decades for different projects. And I still have to pinch myself on that one too, and I learned an incredible amount of music, being around Chick and in different great situations. In 2019 was the Spanish Hartt Band, and that was amazing. And then, my gosh, working with musicians like Jimmy Heath and Benny Golson, Larry Willis.
Oh yeah.
Played a lot with Larry. Harold Mayburn. Had my times with Cedar Walton, Hank Jones. Wow, it's. I'm looking back, thinking, how did all this happen?
And then you're a member of One for All, also, right?
Oh man, well, yeah. So talk about our generation and our colleagues. Yeah, we kind of, realized after playing some together around New York by the mid 90s, maybe 96, we sort of realized, hey man, this is kind of a band,
Mhm.
and we sort of also, well, who's going to be the leader? And, everyone was sort of like reluctant, like, well, I'm not the leader. I'm not the leader. And we just decided to make it a cooperative,
Right.
co-led group. And Peter Washington was the original bassist. Actually, Dwayne Bruneau played with us at the very beginning.
Okay.
It wound up being Peter Washington, and at times David Williams, and even Rufus Reed, even the late great Ray Drummond.
Mhm.
Excuse me. And eventually John Weber,
John Weber, yeah.
played with us, of course, for a long time. And what a band! I again, just totally an inspiration to be a part of that group. I think everybody's playing and writing kind of rubbed off on each other, and
Right.
so like the style of the band just became very effortless, to play together, and I miss it, and we lost the great Jim Rotundi
Right.
about a year and a half ago, and too
Yeah.
soon. But his legacy lives on, and I'm just grateful for all that time that we got to play together.
Yeah, that's a great band, man. I enjoy that band so much. And Joe Farnsworth and I, we kind of came up together and we spent time hanging out with AT, the great Arthur Taylor.
Yep.
Yeah. So we kind of had that in common, and we would always exchange stories and hang out and check out each other's gigs and stuff. So, that camaraderie being passed down from the elder generation is something that we picked up on also, and just kind of supported each other.
Yeah.
Always been great, man. But I want to ask you this, man. I have this question for you, and I kind of asked it to when Ray was on the show and Ture was on the show. Like, the trombone players, man, you guys are just known for arranging. You guys come up with some of the most incredible arrangements for stuff. I mean, what's the secret behind that? I mean, I don't know, but it's a trombone player thing.
Man, I'm really glad you mentioned that. You're right. I mean, J.J. Johnson,
Yeah,
Slide Hampton. Bob Brookmeyer. I mean, you could go on and on with Curtis Fuller, but I'm thinking about J.J. and Slide in particular, who were both master orchestrators, arrangers, composers, and obviously players.
Mm-hmm.
My own experience, in my own experience, I could say that there's something about being in the trombone section in a big band. And I played second trombone most of my life, and I'm near the drummer usually, or bass player, near the rhythm section, trumpets right behind me, saxophones are right in front of me. You're kind of in the guts of the band.
Right.
And a lot of your parts, on the horn are, the chords and the harmonies, and you're right in the thick of everything. Of course, you're hearing great solos all around you. You're hearing swinging, incredible rhythm section playing. But the writing, like you're just up in the middle of it. And I think over time, I don't know, it just kind of becomes a part of our DNA, and I'm really hoping to make a big band recording of my own music within the next year or two. Around my 60th birthday, it would be really nice to get something out like that, because that's a real dream of mine.
Right.
To do that.
That's great, man. I'm just curious, man, because some of the greatest. I mean, you got Slide Hampton, the Slide Hampton Big Band. I mean, some of the great arrangers are just trombone players. It's just a thing that you guys got.
Yeah, I mean, there are players out here today, like John Fedjock is a great player, great arranger. I mean, there's been so many. Steve Ture, of course.
Yeah,
writes great, and yeah, I'm just not expressing all the.
It's cool, but I just I grew up playing trombone, and I switched to drums later on, right before I went to college. But
wow.
Yeah, so I've always, that's like the one instrument I gravitate to first before anything else besides the drums, because I started playing trombone in 4th grade. Yeah.
Wow, Dion, I don't even know if I ever knew that, or if
Yeah.
you told me. I forgot
That was my first, besides the flutophone, that was my instrument.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Who were some players you heard like early on?
Oh man, growing up in the islands, I mean, first of all, our music program is like a really strict concert band classical program. So growing up, that's what I heard. And I heard a lot of Latin music because Puerto Rico is right next door, and a lot of Caribbean calypso and reggae music.
Yeah.
But I got exposed to the music through in junior high school. I was going to the College of the Virgin Islands taking trombone lessons from a gentleman by the name of Dr. Lawrence McClellan, who actually used to work at Berkeley.
Yeah, yes, of
Yeah,
course. Yeah,
he was
yeah.
my trombone teacher for many years, and he ran the jazz program. He got there you go. Then he got me into jazz. Actually, I was playing in the college jazz band and playing trombone in the concert band, and he's the one that kind of steered me towards Rutgers University because he brought the Rutgers University jazz professors to visit St. Thomas when I was in high school, and that was it for me. It was Kenny Barron on piano, Ted Dunbar on guitar, Larry Ridley on bass, Frank Foster on sax, and the great Philly Joe Jones on drums.
Wow.
And I was 14 years old, and I was like, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I mean, that's game over. Like,
trombone player again. So McLean was the one that steered me. And my first music teacher, Dr. Trotman, Leroy Trotman, was a trombone player. It still is.
That's
so
cool.
yeah, so that was my introduction to music, through the trombone. Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, and then you realized I'm smarter than that. I'm gonna
well, that's a whole nother story. This is your interview, not mine. So but the drums was always there. But yeah, man. But yeah, I just had to ask that question because it's just something over the years, playing with so many trombone players. I'm working with a guy by the name of Samuel Blazer in Switzerland. We just did a great reggae project, a tribute to Don Drummond, the trombonist from the Scatolites.
I was just thinking about him when you were talking.
Yeah, and he wrote all this, him and Alex Wilson, the piano player, and Ira Coleman.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I've been fortunate to and Wycliffe Gordon, Wycliffe and I met in high school in the McDonald's All-American High School Band, believe it or not.
Yeah, because we're all about the same age. And, just from different regions, but here we all are. That's beautiful, man. That's great.
So the trombone has always been, attraction for me, whether it's, playing it or being attracted to the musicians that play. So I just had to ask that question.
I appreciate it.
But speaking of writing, man, you shared some of your music with us, and I know our audience is sitting there saying, "Well, we've heard this guy's story, which is a lot more to tell. This is only like the like edited part."
Oh man, that's fine. I mean, I'm just happy to be talking with you, Dion. It's great.
Yeah. Well, let's play some of your music for our audience. You mind?
Beautiful. Sounds good.
Well, the first song you shared with us is a tune entitled Optimism. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's one of my early compositions, maybe around 1991. And it had a few different iterations over the years. Jackie McLean recorded it. One for All recorded it. The first band I played it with was a group I had together briefly with Leon Parker, the drummer. And believe it or not, dig this band. It was Leon, Brad Meldau, Ugana Okegwo, and Mark Turner and me.
Wow.
And there's a demo tape of us playing this that who knows, maybe we'll see the light of day one day. But and then eventually I wrote a big band arrangement of it and brought it to Christian McBride. And he recorded it about 10 years ago. And we still play it in his book. We played it on the Jazz Cruise just a couple weeks ago. And I think in light of, as he put it, everything that's happening right now, we could use a little optimism, a little extra optimism.
Extra. Okay. Well, let's check it out. Optimism, Steve Davis. There you have it. Optimism by Steve Davis.
Wow, man.
Oh, we got a nice comment. I have the balance between the rhythm section and the horn section. Okay.
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
You really brought that classic swing era feel to life. Nice.
Thank you, both of you.
The energy is contagious. I can't sit
Oh,
still. All
yeah,
right.
all right. That's what we like.
Bebopaloo.
Absolutely. Love it.
You really held down a fantastic groove. Okay.
Wow.
Yes. So
Wow.
so I know this is kind of a this not a fair question, but as a composer, what's your favorite instrumentation to write for?
Oh, yeah. Well, mostly what I have written for is either two horns or three. You know, usually, obviously, the one for all group was
Hmm.
trumpet, tenor, and trombone. I've written a lot for quintet, and somebody I went to the Hartt School with, and we overlapped there. He's a little younger than me, the great alto player Mike DiRubbo.
Hmm.
And he and I played a lot of alto trombone, but the way he plays alto, it's almost like a tenor.
Okay.
We can go him on top, me on top. It doesn't. He's got that strong a sound. Um, so I enjoy that. But then I've written some for octet. I've written some and done a few dates over the years with an amazing front line of Peter Bernstein and Steve Nelson and
Oh,
and myself. So
okay.
it's trombone, guitar, and vibes. And that's a whole nother kind of sheen, the kind of sound.
Mm.
Um, I mean, I've written a little bit for octet too, with the New Jazz Composers Octet years ago that our friend Dwayne Bruneau was the bassist
Mm.
in, and uh, David Weiss had that group together, and we did quite a bit of work with Freddie Hubbard in the early 2000s, and we all Xavier Davis and um, Dwayne and Myron Walden and myself, we would write some arrangements for
Mm.
that, and of course David Weiss, and so I learned a lot there, but then there's the big band, um, and there's something about it. I've only written a few so far, but I feel like I've had this. I'm 58 years old. I've had this kind of lifetime in music now,
Yeah.
and I was so fortunate to play um, in Jimmy Heath's big band, in the Dizzy Gillespie All Star big band, which Slide Hampton wrote and Jimmy Heath wrote and arranged for, and arrangers like Dennis McCrell and
Mhm.
the great drummer. So, and Ron Carter's big band. Wow.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Christian McBride's big band and his writing and all the music that he puts together with that group. So, and I was actually a member of the original Roy Hargrove big band in the late 90s. So,
Mm.
and being with him. So, I mean, that's a lot of sounds, that's a lot of music.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know that's why I say it's not a fair question, but I just I just
Yeah.
wanted our audience to just check out the vast palette, musical palette that you present. So,
Well, thank you, Dion. There's one other combination that I really love recently, and that's writing for Abena for my wife,
mm,
great vocalist, and her voice and my horn and
okay.
and piano, bass, and drums. And we've been doing that a lot in recent years. And she's like another instrument, like to stand next to and play music with. And so that one I really love because it really, as a trombonist, it helps me so much. I learned so much from her phrasing, and just to really try to sing through my horn and match and play around how she delivers a song, a melody. That's the best, man.
Right, right.
We're going to do more of that too.
Great. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, you mentioned Roy Hargrove's big band, and you shared a song with us, and I want to just play the song. We could talk about afterwards, but Roy Hargrove's big band was a group of, I mean, great colleagues and stuff. I've checked out that band and heard it so many times. And you wrote this song entitled Grove's Groove. So Let's check it out and we'll talk about it afterwards. So that's Grooves. And that was written for
our dear great Roy Hargrove.
yes. And that's a trumpet player on the recording.
He's on there, yeah. And I remember, I was just remembering that was December of 2005. And after the session, it was very snowy in New York City that night. And I was dropping a couple of musicians off, and I forget where I was staying, and it was snowy and slippery, and I didn't care at all, man. I was so happy that we had just played that music together. And what a joy to play music ever with Roy Hargrove, and all the times over the years our careers intersected, and I'm just so grateful to have known him and just learned on and off the bandstand from him so much, and just had such a good time.
Yeah, he'll be missed.
Oh
yeah. We have a comment from one of our listeners that says that that trombone solo is absolutely soaring. Okay.
Thank you so much. Wow.
You guys were truly in conversation up there. All right.
Thank you. Wow.
I can listen to this all day and night.
Yes.
I heard jazz this good in a long time. All right.
Thank you. Wow.
Beautiful. Well, audiences enjoying your music, and they're from all around the world. So that's good to hear.
So wonderful. Thank you, Dion and Mel, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely. Well, you shared another song with us. I want to continue moving forward because time is not on our side right now. But the next song you shared is a song entitled "Maybe So."
Yeah. So this was written kind of coming out of the pandemic. Actually, I think I wrote it before the pandemic, and we recorded it in early 22. On a record called Bluesthetic. But I wrote the song, I think, around 2018 or 19. And apparently I was in a dead sleep early one morning, and my wife, Abena, was awake. And for whatever reason, I just uttered the phrase in my sleep, "Maybe so." Kind of weird. No. So when Abena told me about this later, when I was up having coffee, I said, "No, I didn't." She said, "Yeah, you did." I said, "Well, sounds like a song title to me." So there you go. Maybe so.
Maybe so. Let's check it out. And that's Maybe So by Steve Davis. All right, beautiful. Who's on the keys?
Yeah, that's the great Jeff Keezer.
Great. Masterful. All right. All right. Well, Steve, man, time is not on our side. I want to jump into this last song, if you don't mind.
Yeah, not at all.
All right. All right. So let's just play this last song for our listening audience. This is entitled Song for My Love. Let's check it out.
Yes.
for my love, Steve Davis and Company. That's from the album Correlation.
Yeah, Correlations.
Mhm.
Wow, man. Thank you, Dion, for playing the music, and I certainly hope everybody's enjoying it, and Abena and I are enjoying just listening. So thank you.
Well, thank you for being on the show, Steve. I know you're super busy, and like I said, when I contact you to come and do this, you're jumping on a cruise, and you've been doing so many amazing things, inspiring the next generation, mentoring, educating, writing, composing, performing. So continued success to you, and thank you for joining us on the show and sharing your story and music with us.
Thank you, Dion. Thank you, and congrats on everything you're doing too. And we'll see you soon.
Yes, but before you leave, let our audience know how they can follow you through social media, website. Please share that.
Oh, of course. You can go to www.stevedavismusic.com, and my website itinerary is updated always. And we do have some shows coming up with the We See All-Star Band, which is at Blues Alley in Washington, D.C. That's April 18th and 19th. And Abena Coombs Davis will be singing with us on those as well. And we'll be at Scullers in Boston on the 17th, and Dizzy's at Jazz at Lincoln Center on the 16th. And this is of April.
Okay.
And one other thing, David Hazeltine, the pianist, and I, we have a new project called Primary Influences, and we have a new recording for the Cellar Live label that'll be coming out later this year with Steve Nelson on vibes, and David Williams on the bass, David Happy Williams, and Byron Landon on the drums, and Corey Weeds on alto. So you can look for that too.
Great. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, folks, you've heard it here. How to follow Steve Davis. Please go and check him out. Check out his website, social media, and follow and support. All right. We really, really appreciate that, man. Steve, again, continued success. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you so much. Cheers. Take care. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All the best. Take care, man. That's Stevie D, my man on trombone, hanging out with us on Sounds of the Diaspora. Was a pleasure to check him out, man. So you guys know what to do. Go follow him, okay? I'm asking you to come back next week and join me as we bring Mr. Walt Williams to the show, vocalist extraordinaire. Come back and check out his story, man. He's got some great music and great stories for you guys, okay? I will see you next time. Take care. All the best. Good night. Have a good evening, everyone.